just very quickly, I want to see if anyone can the people in the back hear me without the mic? Yeah? Okay, good, because I don't like metal phallic objects in front of me. Sorry, that was inappropriate. So, my name, first of all, actually, sorry, before you even start, let's give a round of applause for the last contestants again, because it's very brave for her to sing on this stage. It's a little bit creepy up here. You guys are all staring. Let's give her another round of applause. So I would like to do a brief introduction. They already kind of talked about it. My name is Ricky. I am a first-year student. I know I look like I'm 12, like I wrote in my bio. I'm not 12. And also, I don't like long naked walks on the beach. I apologize for that as well. I am incredibly nervous to be up here today. Nervous because most of the contestants that we have here today, actually all the contestants that we have here today, are extraordinary. I don't know if you've already realized that, but they are extraordinary. We have people here with incredible passions, incredible experiences, incredible skill sets, mindset, mentality. Everything is there. For me, I am just incredibly average. That's it. I'm incredibly average. And average because there really isn't a lot of things extraordinary about me. I think the most extraordinary thing about me is my beautifully, extraordinarily beautiful girlfriend sitting here right there. Stop awing, that was really cheesy. The only extraordinary thing about me is my girlfriend, and other than that, ever since I was a kid, there wasn't really a lot of things that I was good at. Most things I've been truthfully quite crappy at. You know, I pick something up and I'm terrible, and then I quit and I realize, oh, I'm a quitter, and then I cry just a little bit. And there's nothing that I've been great at and nothing that I could say is mine. You know, nothing that I'm passionate about, nothing I can pursue. And because there was nothing that I could pursue, for the longest time, even to this day, I feel kind of lost, you know, no sense of direction. So I know you're probably wondering if this kid, this 12-year-old looking Asian kid in front of me, has no idea what he wants to do with his life, how is he going to tell me what drives him? Which was actually quite simple when I saw that topic, what drives you? For me, what drives me is not necessarily a thing, it's not a what. For me, what drives me is a who. And this who is my greatest inspiration and my ultimate role model. This person that drives me is my father. And there's a reason why I say that. Again, it's a little bit cheesy because I think growing up, most kids look up to their father kind of like a superhero, you know, someone that can achieve and do anything. Like, Dad, can you grab me the cookies from the jar? Yeah, and it's like, yes! Dad can do anything, you know, like you're super pumped. But for me, even to this day, my dad is my hero because my dad lived his life. He's still living, don't worry. My dad is living his life very, very, I wouldn't say passionately, but he lives it every single day to his fullest. Not because he's, you know, across the world traveling, but because his story, his life, taught me my principles, my morals, and my values, and the things that matter to me in life. How he taught it to me was through his story. He never directly told me, but every time I think about everything that he's gone through, it inspires me. His life keeps mine driven. So I'll give you a little bit of a glimpse into, you know, his story. I don't want to go into too much depth, like, you know, he got his first pimple on May or something like that. But it's not that funny. So my dad, his childhood, he grew up in an area in China. He grew up, the city that he grew up in is Guangzhou or Guangzhou for my Cantonese homies out there. He grew up in Guangzhou, and he really had nothing because the time that he was growing up was a time when China was incredibly impoverished, right? There's a lot of political uncertainty, just like most of the rest of the world, except for the States. But it was incredibly impoverished, and he had nothing. His family had nothing. People were in poverty. He had very little to eat. Him and his best friend shared like a pair of boxers, and that wasn't funny either. Him and his best friend shared a pair of boxers, like they would switch on days, and people had no place to sleep. My dad, his families, so his sister, my cute little grandmother, and my grandfather had very, very little to eat. So everyone in my dad's family started working at a very young age. Around 12 or 14, they'd start working. Working to provide for the family so that maybe they could get 2 meals a day, hopefully. They worked and they worked, and this whole time my dad never really knew exactly what he wanted to do, or what he wanted to become, or what he was passionate about, because he doesn't have time for that, right? He's working to bring home rice for the family. That wasn't even a race joke, I'm sorry. He was bringing home food for the family. And I'm going to fast forward actually to when he was 22. When he was 22, he met this beautiful young woman, who was my mom, this beautiful young woman, and she rejected him right away. But he still tried, he persisted, he kept at it like a champ, and eventually they fell in love. They fell in love, and they would see each other a lot, and they would work at the same time. Unfortunately, like I said before, China was going through political uncertainty, which meant that a lot of people were afraid of the country that they were living in. So my dad didn't want to stay in China. And at that time, a lot of people, what they did was they would take refuge to a different country. They would escape the country that they're in to find a new home. My dad chose Canada because they heard Canada had, lots of opportunities, lots of food, cheap houses. That was a joke. See, you guys are laughing at my jokes, but you're not the ones that aren't my jokes. Cheap houses! Cheap houses, and so he decided he wanted to take refuge. My father was mostly afraid of, because this was a very dangerous journey. This was an incredibly dangerous journey, and he was afraid to get shot, first of all, but he was also afraid to keep himself distances away from his family and the woman that he loved. So what my dad did was, the next thing that he did was very Dear John-like, kind of Nicholas Spark. What he did was, he told my mom, wait for me for 3 years. Give me 3 years time. In 3 years, I will make at least enough money to fly you over here to meet me in Canada. And my mom, this stupid, naive 19-year-old girl, said yes. I know, thank God, right? So my dad was very afraid that my mom would leave him, so he would always send money back, right? When he got to China, he found a nice little job in a Chinese restaurant in the back washing dishes. That's all he did. Every now and then he would send money back to my mother and his family, and eventually in 2 years, he made enough money to fly my mom over from Canada. It was a very sweet moment for my mom, because up to this day, my mom makes it sound very cheesy. She's like, yeah, we had a 3-year contract, and he really loves me. I'm like, okay, Mom. So once they got here, they really, really struggled, because now my dad was working not only for himself, but because he always felt subconsciously like, I'm letting my woman down. I'm letting my wife down, and I'm not, treating her good enough. That being said, my mom also worked alongside with my dad. They both had jobs. And in this time, it was very, very rough for my dad, because I don't know if you realize this, back then, Vancouver sucked a lot more than it does now. Back then, Vancouver had a lot less people, a lot less houses. It was almost like a ghost town. And because it was like a ghost town, there's definitely no Asians driving Maseratis left and right. So at this time, my dad always got picked on, in Canada, by anyone. Because, first of all, he was poor, right? And people called him worthless, right? People called him a country boy, useless, chink, right? In fact, my dad was actually pulled out of his car one time and beat up and spit on because a chink should not cut lanes in front of a big white guy, apparently. So my dad went through a lot, but eventually what he managed to do was, with the financial aid of my uncle, he raised enough money to start a very small business. It's a very small business. They did windows, curtains, and all that, stuff like that. And basically, what he managed to do was, with that very small business, make very smart choices and very smart investments. And throughout those years, for the last 20-some years, my dad's been working and working his ass off. And to this day, I've never met a man that works as hard as my father. And I can truthfully say that. Because he would wake up 6 in the morning and come home at 9 at night. I barely got to see my dad, right? But he showed me that he wanted to work for us, for his family. And that's why my father's story drives me. Because his story taught me that regardless of your disadvantages, your background, your weaknesses, if you have the tenacity and belief that you can achieve something, you can be anyone you want to be and achieve anything you want to achieve. To make a point. Because that's what my dad did. He made a point. He proved that he's not worthless. He's not just poor. He's not just some chink. He's the most badass motherfucking chink you will ever meet. Excuse my language. So, to this day, I look at my father and I really think about it. My father is a person that came from nothing and he achieved greatness in my eyes. I'm not living in a mansion, but I am living in the castle that my father built for his queen. And to this day, even still, I think about it. Everything my dad has taught me. He's taught me to be determined. He's taught me to be confident. And he's taught me that if you ever find something or someone that you truly love, it's very hard. And it's even harder for you to hold on. That's why my father is what drives me. And my father is what keeps me driven. Thank you.